Welcome to another round of Coffee and Donuts. If you don't know who I am, I'm Frank. I'm a former federal law enforcement officer and now a full-time law enforcement instructor. And here is where I answer your questions to the police hiring process or any aspect of the law enforcement profession to the best of my ability. Let's discuss. Before we get started, we answer every question that comes across on all our platforms. So we predominantly focus on YouTube and our blog, which you can find those links in the description. So if you want to ask a question and you want me to get back to you as quick as possible, you can leave a comment on YouTube or down in our blog on any of our blog posts, and that's over at our website, armageddonct.com. And like I said, you can find those links down in the description. Now, we have 3 pre-submitted questions. I like this. I haven't read them all completely, but it seems like we have a good wide variety of different aspects here. So let's jump in and see what we have. First one, looks like Margaret asks, hey, high school kid here. If I want to be a criminal investigator, forensic psych, or a criminal psych, okay, I see where you're going with this. What do you recommend I do as a minor and major in college? I know those 3 are different, but each one of them has sparked my interest a ton. I don't know exactly if you can answer this, but I thought I might as well ask. I think I could give you my best shot on this one. If I was going to go that way, understand that when it comes to criminal justice, like if you're going to go get a criminology degree, or let me rephrase that, if you're going to go get a criminal justice degree or an administration to justice degree, they're really focused on that, right? You can take that higher, you can go to paralegal, legal lawyer stuff and things like that, but they're really focused towards that. You're really niching in your academic or education focus for your career. Now, that doesn't mean you can't learn anything else. You could focus on that and take electives that focus on psych. If you were more interested in psych, I would focus on but you liked criminal justice stuff, I would focus on criminology, right? Understanding the mindset behind, criminals and things like that. Or, and this might be the better approach, you can just go get a psychology degree, open up multiple different doors for you to where you could work in, not only the psychological field, but the criminal justice field. I will tell you this, when it comes to becoming a law enforcement officer or even a criminal investigator, because if you're looking at the federal level, that's what they're typically told. And a little inside tip, if you're looking for criminal investigator jobs from USA Jobs, type in 1811. Little inside tip. There's another one, but I'll share that at another time. But 1811. So criminal investigator, you could get that with a psychology degree. Most of the time, there's no specific degree requirement to become a law enforcement officer. When I say specific, if it does require a degree, it usually just says 60 credits or a bachelor's degree in some type of related field, and psychology could be considered a related field, right? So I think if I was, just based on the knowledge I have right here from the question you asked, I would get the degree in psychology, maybe even a minor in forensics, and then go that way. Or if you want to blend them all together and criminal justice in some aspect or legal, I'd go criminology and blend it all. So that's the way I would do it. My degrees, I have 2. I've been to law school, but I didn't complete law school because I was doing so much here for everyone else. My 2 degrees are, my first one was a general studies degree, an associate's in general studies, and I didn't obtain that until I think I was 27, and I didn't obtain my bachelor's in criminal justice until I was about 30. But I had been working as a law enforcement officer well before then, and I was in the military, so I took the military route first before pursuing a college degree. But yeah, if I was going to go this route, I'd probably look at psychology with a minor in something else, or I'd blend it and go criminology. But you could always just go criminal justice if you want to. Just understand you're kind of limiting where you can use that later on if you decide not to stay in this field. But great question. I love it. All right, next. This one is from Chris. I live in Washington State and have the option of either applying and getting on with a department and being sent to the academy, or I can pay out of pocket in Idaho and put myself through the academy. Which one would be better? Okay, there's a lot here that maybe you're not aware of, maybe I'm not aware of. Thank you. You're welcome. We'll see if the answer is good enough for you. I always recommend to be sponsored by a department, right? To be sponsored through the academy. And I've done both, right? So I've done 2 different academies. I was slated for a third, but I decided to stay in training at that point in time with a third department. But I've done 2 different academies. One was a self-sponsor because I was required to. That was the only way to get the position I wanted. And the other one was a sponsored agency. It's so much nicer to get paid going through the academy because you're not worried about finances. You already have a job. Even if, with a self-sponsored, you're not guaranteed a job after you pass the academy. You still got to pass all the hiring processes. Where when you go to the academy as a sponsored individual, you've already passed all that. You're already working in your profession. You already have the title of police officer, police recruiter, whatever it is. You're already working on your benefits. You're already working towards your first promotion, your year in service to get off probation, whatever it is. I would always recommend getting sponsored if you could. What I'm concerned about with this comment is it looks like you're in Washington State, but you're going to go to an academy in Idaho. I don't know too many states that would accept an out-of-state academy, right? So what do I mean by that? So if you go to Idaho and take your academy, you'd most likely have to apply to departments in Idaho. So, which is fine. If you're like, I want to move to Idaho anyway, great. Then, yeah, that's fine. But if you're saying, no, I'm going to go to academy in Idaho and come back to Washington State, make sure, I'm not saying they won't, I'm just saying I don't know of it, make sure that they would be willing to accept your out-of-state academy. And just in that in general, I can already tell you that that's going to slow your hiring process down because even if they do, some people might not know about it, and it might just still be longer getting it translated over to that state's accreditation. So I would always I would always get sponsored first if I can. And then if I had to, I would self-sponsor. But if I'm going to self-sponsor, understand that you can usually only apply to the state in which you're taking your certification course, your police academy. So there's a lot there. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that thank you is warranted. But yeah, I would look at that. It's a good question. Just be very cognizant. Do your research. Do the prep work. All right. Last one. Ivan said, if you have applied to 3 departments and moving along well with them, how can I best decide on which department is my favorite? Right now, I don't have a favorite, and I'm struggling how to research the departments to eventually choose one. Thank you. I hope that question makes sense. Yeah, I get what you're saying. So when we do a department audit, right, and once again, if you haven't heard it, I'm going to burn through it real quick. Number 1, does it meet your financial needs? Number 2, is it obtainable and eligible? And number 3, do you support their mission? And there's bunch that goes into all 3 of those questions. If you can say yes to every question, then you're willing to work for those departments. So if you do that and you do a department audit and you pick your top 3, you accept the first one that makes you an offer. Now, what I will tell you is if you're at neck and neck with departments and you say one makes you an offer and the other one's right there, you're just waiting to hear back whether or not you've completed everything, or maybe you have one last executive interview with the chief or the sheriff or something like that, you can leverage that. If the other one that hasn't made you an offer yet is your primary, is like, I really want to work with them, then you can leverage the other one and say, hey, this one made me an offer, I'm inclined to accept unless, as I mentioned, I really want to work for this department. You can do that. We've done that with our coaching members, and it's worked really well. You have to do it professionally and tactfully, but you understand. But the whole purpose of picking those top 3 is not to have to then choose between them. It's whichever one makes you an offer first. And the reason we do that, because if a department, I've seen this, people turn down a department that makes them an offer only for the other departments to never make them an offer. So don't do that. You can always lateral to another department later on down the line after you get some experience and you pass FTO and the academy and everything else that's part of your hiring package with the first one. But yeah, accept the first one that makes you an offer unless you're in some type of extenuating circumstances. That would be my recommendation. Hopefully this helps. Once again, if you want your comments answered, right, we try to get to everything on YouTube. We try to get to everything on all our platforms. But for the most part, if you definitely want to see the quickest response, it will be over on YouTube. and in our blog on our website. And you can find those links down below. Stay safe, and I will see you next time.